If you're from a Western country, you might be thinking, why would I need someone to come cook or clean in my house? I'm perfectly capable of doing it. Isn't that very derogatory? सबको नमस्ते, मैं जेसिका हूँ और आज इनविजिबल इंडिया पॉडकास्ट में बताने वाली हूँ कि thriving in India as a foreigner. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how you can go from surviving to thriving as a foreigner in India. This is a two-part episode. The first part was all about practicalities. This is kind of the daily life of how do you actually survive in India without any struggle or difficulties. This is part two, in which we're going to get into some more of the relational aspects of working and having relationships with Indian people. तो मैं अपने बारे में थोड़ा सा बताती हूँ. I'm going to tell a little about myself. I'm Jessica. I'm from the United States, Chicago area. I've lived on and off in India for the last 16 years. I have 2 kids. I'm married to a man from Bihar, my husband Abhishek. He and I met in the US. He was there for about 10 years. We moved back to India together in 2006. So I was living in India before when I was a single person and now as a married woman with 2 kids. I have so many more videos about how my husband and I met, how our marriage occurred, all of those things. So if you want to get more into the relational aspects, please go ahead and look at those several videos that are also on my page. If you want to hear the full audio version of this, also go check out Invisible India Podcast, wherever podcasts can be found, whatever streaming platform, Apple, Spotify, JioSaavn, Ghana, several in India. It's all there. This is episode number 77. So चलिए अब हम लोग थोड़ा बात करेंगे. So as usual, my number one tip for pretty much most videos that I do is learn the local language in the local culture. India, as you know, is one of the largest speaking English countries in the world, but that doesn't mean people's heart language or the main way they communicate is not something else. So a lot of people can manage English, but it's about getting a deeper connection and going a little further. So of course, I have so many recommendations about Hindi, but there are many, many languages in India. There are 18 official languages of India and then several, what some have even said, thousands of other dialects. As far as recommendations, of course, I do have my own Hindi course, learnhindianywhere.com. You can see it. It's on all my social media pages, links in the profile. But I have several other resources that I want to talk about. On my website, there is the Ultimate Hindi Learner's Language Guide. And my number one recommendation is to be immersed. If you can't be immersed, I really think that it's best to learn with a tutor. And in the Ultimate Hindi Learner's Resource Guide, which is on my website as a free download, 21 pages of resources are there for you. And I really recommend to connect with a tutor. I have the contact information of vetted tutors that I have personally communicated with and have seen their results. I have several other recommendations for Hindi learning resources or for other language learning resources, which are also on my site, on my offers page, invisibleiindiapodcast.com/offers. And I have a pronunciation course, which should be coming out at the end of September. So check that out. Tip number 2, if you are in India for more than 3 to 6 months, I highly recommend that you get a house helper or someone that can come to your house, cook, do dishes, and clean. If you're from a Western country, you might be thinking, why would I need someone to come cook or clean in my house? I'm perfectly capable of doing it. Isn't that very derogatory? I have 2 very in-depth episodes about this. Made in India, MAID in India. I interviewed the author Tripti Lahiri, and she and I talked a lot about the informal labor markets of India. So if you want more information, go there. Number 1, you're supporting the local informal economy, people that need jobs that might not have other employable skills, but this is a way to get extra income for their family. Number 2, it is really good for you to be able to free up your time to do other things. In India, a lot of times you need to dust your house every single day. You need to do your dishes right away. You can't leave them sitting. You'll get pests and other things coming into your house. And it's really nice to have a clean house so that you could have guests over. You could have Indian friends over. You can have more margin to do the things you want to do. Cleaning and cooking takes a lot longer in India than it might in your Western country. So just keep that in mind. Plus, it's a way to practice the local language with someone who's kind of a captive audience. Someone that you're paying to be in your home that you can communicate with and practice the local language with. Number 3 is make local friends in India, and particularly if they don't speak English. Now, this might be kind of tricky because most people do speak English, but it's great to have friends that can help you to really feel connected and to thrive. Do you have hobbies which you can connect with other people? There's so many different clubs. Maybe you can join a cricket club or a gym or a walking group. Maybe you want to learn Indian classical singing or some kind of local art. Or maybe you just like to watch Bollywood movies. These are all ways that you can connect with people and able to make local friends. Live in community, don't live isolated. Your community is your strength. Number 5, and this is a tricky one. It probably deserves its entire own episode. But acknowledge what stereotypes people may have about you. I did an entire episode on this, episode 9, about stereotypes about white people. But whether you like it or not, educated urban Indian people also may have some stereotypes, but non-educated, non-urban people are definitely going to have stereotypes about you as a foreigner. It really depends on where you're from and how you present. If you are an Indian American, an NRI, or Indian, British, Indian, Canadian, Indian, Fiji, Indian, people can tell you didn't grow up in India, you're going to have a separate set of issues than someone that is clearly a foreigner. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the different ethnicities and some of my the friends and people that I've observed and what different challenges they've had. Being a white or white presenting person, the number one thing people are going to think is you have a lot of money, that you are kind of like, a colonizer or from that line. So they're going to assume you're Christian. They're going to assume that you come from a wealthy country. They're going to assume you're educated. And unfortunately, they're going to assume that you have poor morals in some sense. So that is just something to be aware of, and you can't always overcome that, but just being aware that those are things that people may think about you. If you are of East Asian descent or you present that way, people will probably assume that you have a similar culture to Indian culture, that you probably gonna have an easier time than other people. People might even think that you are from Northeast India, where people have more East Asian features. If you are Black, African, or African American descent, or if you're presenting that way from your physical appearance, you may also have a really challenging time with the way that people have stereotypes. Some of my friends who are African American specifically had said that whenever people talk to them, they had a perception like from a gangster Hollywood movie. People have a bad perception in India of Africa in general. I know that's the most broad thing you could possibly say, being this, one of the most diverse culturally, linguistically, and ethnic places on the earth in the continent of Africa. But people just have some ignorant views, and they might not know. People think that you're poor, or that there's like crime and all of these terrible things, and sometimes people might not treat you well because of their perceptions. Especially in rural areas, a lot of people have not seen a Black person before. One thing that I've heard over and over again is people want to touch your hair, textured hair, and that has been a challenge for a couple of people who I've spoken with that said that they felt kind of violated because people were touching their hair without asking their permission. I also did an episode about being Black in a multicultural relationship with Nikita Gupta. It's in one of my earlier episodes. I believe it's African American and Indian. If you just look that up on my site, you'll be able to find and hear her experiences about what it was like to be Black in India. If you're Latino or from the entire continent of South America, I have to say that people probably don't know much about your country. People know Brazil, and some people know Mexico. But if you are describing where you are from, a lot of people might not have any idea where that is. And if you just say South America, people will hear the word America and they'll just think you're from America, like United States of America. So, you may have a lot of explaining to do about who you are, what your people are like, and people just might not know about you. So that's one thing. There's a lot of education which needs to take place in India about that region of the world, and you'll have the opportunity to explain that and teach people. So those are basically my tips. Whether we like it or not, these are some of the realities that I've observed over the last 16 years. And there are a lot of generalizations that people have made about India. And so I just ask that you also extend that same grace to people in India as they're learning about you, your culture, because people may have stereotypes that you don't know that exist. And I think the best attitude is to have a gracious attitude and have a learner's attitude, but also to have a tough attitude and know that people may not treat you the way that you would like to be treated, but you can always try to do your best. Stand up for yourself, but also be careful, gracious, kind to others when things don't go your way. So those are my general tips. I hope that this has been helpful. Again, I have the whole full audio on my site. Please go ahead and check that out. I do have more on living in India as an outsider. Episode 18 is surviving the most common inconveniences of India. That's also a lot of practicalities. And you can hear episode 50 of my top 5 most raw experiences in India. So ठीक है, चलो, namaste, बहुत धन्यवाद सुनने के लिए. Check out the links in my bio and check out all the links in the show notes. I hope this is helpful for you. Share it with someone you know who is going to be coming to India soon. ठीक है, चलो.